धोनी ने एक मैच में अगर 0 पे आउट हो गया तो यू डोंट थ्रो हिम आउट बिकॉज उसका क्लास है, वो परमानेंट है. पास्ट रिटर्न्स आर नॉट योर फ्यूचर रिटर्न्स. पैसा टाइम से बनता है.
DSP Fund House is one of the leading players in the mutual fund industry, managing over 2 lakh crore of investor money. To understand what you should do in today's market, we spoke to the CEO, Head of Passive Investments, and Co-Head of Equities at DSP. What's your view on passive funds?
India market does have the potential to generate alpha, but I believe that over the years what we have observed,
What's your framework to select the stocks?
business mode, what price I am paying, and
Do your friends and family also ask you for stock tips?
Don't ask me for tips. Ask me where am I investing. If you are able to follow these two principles, you will be in the top 1%.
Hi, Kalpeen. Let's start with, as someone who is managing 2 lakh crores of AUM. First of all, what's your personal portfolio? How does that look like?
My portfolio is reasonably diversified. So, roughly 40% in equity stocks of Indian companies. Another 15 to 18% would be in stocks of global companies. So, let's say 55 odd percent is in equities. Another 25-30% would be in bonds. And 10 to 12% would be in gold funds or gold bonds. Gold through our funds also, and gold through sovereign gold bonds as well. So, in a nutshell, it is a multi-asset portfolio. My belief generally is that long-term compounding happens through equities. Because equity means ownership of businesses which grow profits over time. Once in 8-10 years, periods come when a good asset class like equity becomes too expensive. Especially post-COVID, markets have run up very sharply, particularly in India and US. Because of that, over the last 2 years, my portfolio from a 70%, 75% equity tilt toned down to around 55% equity tilt. And I added a little bit of gold and bonds. In the last 6 months, stocks have fallen. Indian stocks particularly have fallen, but gold has risen sharply. Bonds are stable, and global stocks have risen. So the benefit of a diversified portfolio is it never gives you the highest return. So it is not meant for greedy investors. It is meant for investors who are generally content with steady state compounding.
Right.
And the benefit of such diverse portfolios is it does not fluctuate too sharply. That's why it's diversified via mutual fund structure. Why mutual fund structure? Because rebalancing internally in a mutual fund scheme is tax efficient.
So probably I'll walk through each part of your portfolio, and from a retail investor standpoint, ask certain nuanced questions, right? So given a big chunk is equity, what's your framework on large, mid, small cap, and especially now with the whole turbulent market? Retail investors usually follow the returns, like AUM follows the returns. So small cap में पहले बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा था, तो everyone invested and now it's crashed. What's been your approach and what would be your advice to our
तो
investors?
पहले तो रिटेल और नॉन रिटेल ऐसा कोई भेदभाव नहीं करना चाहिए. All investors are human investors. I have seen the richest investors also have similar anxieties. If I am coming to you to say that please invest in DSP funds, and these are my 5 funds. Fund 1 has 12% return, 14% return, 9% return, 3% return, and minus 18. What will you like?
Yeah, you tend to go to the highest return.
Most likely, next time onward, start spending a little bit more time on the worst return. Understand why is it low, and most likely mean reversion keeps happening. So what is high becomes low, especially in equity, and what is low it tends to become high. The second nuance here is जो low है वो अच्छा होना चाहिए.
Yeah. How do you define अच्छा होना चाहिए? Like
There are rules, like there are data points that अच्छी कंपनी का मतलब है उसका return on equity अच्छा होता है. So generally companies which are putting capital to work and every year are earning 15, 20, 30, 40% return on that capital as profits are generally meant to be good companies. So that is one condition. दूसरा कॉन्सेप्ट अच्छा है कि ये कंपनी अच्छा है, बट उसको मैंने अगर 50 या 100 का प्राइस टू अर्निंग मल्टीपल दे दिया, which is irrational, then even अच्छे कंपनी में पैसा नहीं बनेगा. So there are a lot of stocks in the last few years which are iconic companies like HDFC Bank or Kotak Banks. They are the best run banks in the world, not just India, in the world. Very sensibly, very credibly the bank is run and built. Very sound risk management. But for 5 years, the equity shareholder has earned lower returns than the FD holder. Logically, shareholder should earn more. But because 5 साल पहले ये स्टॉक महंगे हो गए थे, I started my career selling technology funds or unintentionally mis-selling technology funds because India का वो tech boom था 99-2000. Great companies of India, iconic tech companies of India were at 100 PE. Now what does 100 PE mean? कि P or E? E is the profit of this year. When I pay 100 times on that E, I am saying कि अगले 100 साल तक यही profit growth मिलने वाला है. ऐसा होता नहीं है. So normally fair value सब कुछ करके दुनिया भर के all markets fair value is around 15-16 PE. Something can be above for better reason, something can be below, but that's broadly the fair value. So if you are buying random stocks without knowing कि इसका return on equity क्या है, इसका profit growth rate क्या है, इसके promoters का approach क्या है towards whatever wealth is getting created, sharing it with shareholders, whatever profits are happening, how well they are investing it back in the business or they are taking it out. That brings the governance dimension. And if you're overpaying, most likely returns are low. So doing all of this on a stock portfolio generally is very difficult, which is why the role of mutual fund. But even mutual fund portfolios do get expensive. Like in the last 2-3 years, concepts or themes like manufacturing, infrastructure, defense became far more popular, but the stock prices ran up far ahead of what they deserved. And when stock prices run far ahead of what they deserve, the last 1, 2, 3 year returns look spectacular. And our mind is tricked or hacked to think that ये spectacular return मेरा है. वो आपका कब है? जब आपने 3 साल पहले डाला होगा. अब 3 साल पहले all these themes had very poor returns. So almost no one would have invested. So when you are buying past returns, you are buying someone else's return, not yours. This is a very important thing to remember, that past returns are not your future returns. And the second condition in equity investing is, or second truth of equity investing is everything is cyclical. Good companies also go through cycles of their business, their profits, and hence their valuations. And on top of it, there is a behavior cycle of investors. We overbuy stocks or we oversell them. So if an investor is buying hot funds when they are very hot, ideally you have to burn.
Right. And because you said this, right, from mutual fund, nahi hai to sahi hai, right? And as I was saying, right, a lot of us do believe that हाँ long-term wealth creation mutual funds या equity से होगा. Do you think that this rise or this bubble will continue, or are we like headed for a bigger correction in future? Like, what is your opinion on that?
So, see, we were meeting in a bear market today. We are not in a bear market. Stocks have fallen 15%. Some stocks prices have fallen 30-35%, which is why we encourage investors not to just buy stocks but come in mutual funds. Even with all this fear about small and mid cap funds, the fall in small cap funds NAV is around 16-17%. It's half of what stocks prices have fallen. Because the fund manager has relatively bought better portfolio or it's diversified. So these falls will happen. Bubbles will also happen, but bubbles are always spotted in hindsight, not in foresight. So now where are we right now in the cycle? Like I said, in our market is probably it was 1.5-2 years ahead in terms of where the profits or valuation should have been. It has retraced a meaningful part of that gap, but it is still slightly frothy. But markets don't have to come back to equilibrium just because we think it's frothy. It can still remain frothy. It can still become a bigger bubble from where we are right now. These things are unpredictable. And hence, a better way to invest is diversify. Diversify in 2 ways. Diversify your asset classes between equity, gold and bonds, or also global equities, because there are many markets in the world which have similar profitability as Indian companies, but are cheaper in valuations.
Right.
So there are opportunities outside also. And diversify over time through SIPs. I think if you are able to follow these 2 principles, asset diversification and time diversification, you will be in the top 1%. The third point is ये small cap, mid cap, large cap is leveling. Basically, company अच्छी होनी चाहिए और सस्ती होनी चाहिए. वो फिर large cap हो, so be it, small cap हो, so be it. Levels don't matter. So there are many bad companies in large caps. There are many good companies in small cap and vice versa. Which is why, as investors, normally we say कि अगर आपके पास वो specialization नहीं है to understand these dimensions and nuances, start with a multi-asset fund, start with a hybrid fund. Even in equity, start with a flexi cap fund. Learn the tricks of the trade, learn the nuances, and then gradually learn about mid cap funds and small cap funds. And if you understand the volatility and if you can digest it, then you build your SIP portfolios through small cap and mid cap.
Got it. I think fair point, like diversification through different asset classes, equity, debt, gold, international markets also you mentioned. I think equity may a good framework I think our audience has ki start with something like multi or flexi, ki get that exposure and then make your nuanced decisions. Chahe mid mein karna hai, chahe thematic mein bhi karna hai, but with deep
Start with,
religion. Start with something.
Start
that's
with
more-
the thali and
Correct.
not with just the dessert.
And because you talk about making lesser investment decisions, right? Then what's your view on investing in active? Because I can also go for passive, which is even less. Like I just have to track an index.
You don't have to track a fund manager.
Yeah, I just have to track an index. So what's your view on passive
It's
investing?
one of the biggest advantage. See, passive has two advantages. One is the cost is low, and but cost alone is not a great input. Cost matters, but sometimes at low cost you could get into a wrong product also. You could have bought a defense index fund 2 quarters back at lowest cost and lost 20%, versus buying a high cost active asset allocation fund and actually been up 1%. So cost alone is not the dimension, but the beauty of an index fund is that whatever are the surviving stocks of a country eventually will become bigger and bigger in the index, and whatever are the poorer stocks, undeserving stocks will get weeded out. That is the advantage of index funds. If you want to learn a lot more about passive funds, my colleague Anil will share more insights, who heads our passive business, and I think you
Sure.
can get more nuances and learn from that.
Sure, I'd love to connect with Anil, and I will come back to you because I have some very interesting questions that I think people would want to know for the person who is behind fund manager. So I'll get back to you in the next segment. Thank you, Anil, so much for taking out the time. It's pleasure to have you here. And as someone with over 2 decades of experience in passive funds and now heading the passive market, would love to understand your view on passive funds in India, because it's commonly said that, India still has that alpha. What's your view on passive funds?
India market does have the potential to generate alpha, or in simple words, outperform the benchmark. But I believe that over the years, what we have observed is that the consistency of being able to generate that alpha, or over the years, the difficulty of being able to try and deliver the alpha, especially in certain segments of the market, for example, large cap as a segment. I feel that it's going to be incrementally getting more and more difficult, that in large cap as a segment, there is so much of information available, so much of research being done on the companies. So for an active manager to be able to consistently outperform the benchmark is going to become increasingly difficult. It's always better to look at it as a complementary, not a competing strategy. So it should be active and passive, not versus passive. And in very brief summary, the key difference between what I do as a passive investments fund manager versus what somebody else who is an active fund manager, what she or he would do, is that in a passive fund, we are trying very hard and working hard to try and ensure we meet the market. And in an active fund, the fund manager is trying hard to ensure that she or he can beat the market by applying human bias and human judgment and research framework on certain specific sectors and stocks, and trying to go overweight or underweight on some of the stocks with a view that that underweight or overweight on that stock will be able to deliver a better risk and return outcome as compared to that particular index.
Okay. So what do you recommend? Like, should one have a mix of active and passives in the portfolio? What's your view on, as an investor, how should we make our portfolio allocation?
I strongly believe that it would be most appropriate to have a allocation which is encompassing both active as well as passive. For some part of your portfolio, let's say a large cap allocation, some part which is like a core allocation for long term, where you want to just build your wealth by putting some small monthly or quarterly or weekly amounts. Maybe that could go into a relatively low cost, passively managed index fund or ETF. For some so-called non-core or satellite allocation, maybe into some particular large theme or some particular area where you feel that core allocation is not giving me exposure, definitely then you can consider to add on active funds.
Okay. I think that gives a good framework. Like, the core can be passive and the satellite could be active.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you can then review them more periodically, while passives won't require a lot of review, right? I think next, I saw that DSP also has 4 funds in banking sector, I think 3 out of which are passives. What's your view on banking as a sector? Because there's a huge concentration there.
See, I feel very strongly that for any economy that is growing at a fast pace like India, finance becomes the lifeblood of whatever we do. The entire growth is powered by the banking and financial services of the banking system. Today, if we look at our BFSI as a sector and we see the way in which those companies, especially in the listed space, if I compare where we can invest, the profit pools, which is the profits which are earned by these BFSI sector companies, form approximately 40 to 42% of the total profits earned by the top 500 companies by market cap. But the market capitalization of these companies, these BFSI companies, is only about 24 to 25%.
Oh.
So typically, if you feel that when you invest into a company stock, you are basically investing to buy as a shareholder and gain from the profit pool of that company, right? So just as a context, it's an important piece of the economy. Plus, at this point of time, it could be a time whereby it's seeming relatively undervalued, and hence it could be a good exposure, good allocation for investors' money. Why don't you also connect with my colleague Rohit Singhania, who is our co-head of active investments, my parallel team. You'll get a good sense of how differently they look at their portfolios or how they try to take this human judgment and go overweight or underweight some sectors and some stocks.
Got it. Sure, I would love to talk to Rohit. I think let's do that. Thank you so much, Anil. Thanks, Rohit, for taking out the time. I have some very quick questions I think our audience would want to know. People who are investing in mutual funds, right? And they often have this question ki which scheme to select in, when to exit, when to rebalance. So as someone who has been heading this for so long and doing this for over 2 decades, what's your framework to select the stocks in your portfolio?
I think when you look at selecting stocks, I have a very simple formula. One, I need to have the understanding of the business. And two, this word everyone uses, but for me it's very important, is the moat of the business. If I'm seeing today a company is good, it may be having 5-6 reasons, right? Continuous gaining of market share, launching of new products, or expanding geographies. That benefit is there with the company today. Can that continue in the future? I think that's the key for me to understand. Two, of course, what price am I paying to buy the stock today?
Right.
I'm buying a stock today for its future returns. Right. If I tend to overpay today, and what do I mean by overpaying, right? If I'm valuing a company at exorbitant prices today, it means whatever growth or whatever good things I expect in the company in next 3, 4, 5 years, I'm already paying it for today. So what am I going to get after 3, 4 years holding the company?
Right.
So business moat and what price I am paying.
Right.
Of course, the overlay is on the management, right? The management and the track record of the management, how they have behaved in terms of various business cycles, what decisions they have taken, that is also very important. So I would say these three are the key for me in terms of identifying a stock.
Got it. And since you mentioned about valuations, right? How do you decide like currently the stock is really undervalued? Yeah, there is some problem. So like if I were to ask what are like the top 3 red flags that you would say in a stock, which would sort of...
Yeah, see, I think we have to diverge between the red flags and the valuation, right? And valuation, it has to be relative. I mean, when you're looking at the business, we talk about in some cases price to book, price to earnings, EV, EBITDA, right? But it's relative to in which cycle of business are you in.
Okay.
And I'll give you that by an example, right?
Yeah.
If you go back 4-5 years back, and if you take commodities or metals as a space, right? Any note you read, or even had you spoke to me, I would say, if the stock comes at 0.6 times price to book value, you go and blindly buy it, right? But what was the rationale of that 0.6 today, right? Or that time? Commodity prices, as you know, if commodity prices go down, companies make less profits, right? So there are hundreds of same commodity producers. If the prices start going down, they will start stopping production. Production comes down, supply comes down, prices start to go up, right? So at what base level? So if you did that study at that point of time, 0.5, 0.6 was the level today. Today that 0.5, 0.6 has become 1, 1.2. Now same company into same business, why this change, right? Balance sheets. 5 years back, 6 years back, these companies have a debt equity of 2x, 3x net debt to equity. Today they are less than 1, some are at less than 0.5. So what lens are you looking at it? I would say valuations is not just, you give a number and say this number is good or bad. It has to be relative to the business itself, your balance sheet, and in which cycle of growth are you. So that's how you look at relative valuations.
Got it. And we spoke about entry into or buying into a stock, which is basis the moat of the business, the company management. What about exiting the stock? What's your framework to decide whether now we should exit the stock?
So ideally, when you're buying a stock, right, you have a certain thesis in mind. If that thesis plays out, this can be the profitability of the company. It can be traded at these valuation. This is the price you have in mind. And after that, you feel, okay, most of it has been played out. So you try to sell the stock or exit the stock, right?
Okay.
That's the, I would say, blue moon scenario. Everything's gone right. Sometimes the thesis which you're making to buy it goes wrong. It's not playing out over 1, 2, 3 quarters, and you realize you made a mistake. So rather than just, being shy of, how do I sell a stock which I bought at a higher price? If you think you have made a mistake, you exit the stock. Sometimes so happens is you meet a new company and you really find, the business mode, valuation, everything so good. And you want to have that in a portfolio. But how do you buy it if you don't have cash? You maybe trickle down in a few of the names, you raise cash from there and buy into it.
Got it. And given that, very curious, right? You have done this for over 2 decades and you have this steady temperament. What would your advice be to retail investors? Because we often get very panicky, especially in times when market falls.
To be fair with you, temperament is always not steady. But the idea is how to keep it steady, right?
Right.
As an investor or for, retail investors or who are just entering into the market, what led to your decision in buying a particular scheme? And what is the thought or what is expected returns? Be aware of that. And when you're taking the opposite action, what has changed in it, or it has given you returns, then it's fine. Or something has not changed just because the NAV has come down. Why has it come down? Take a call, try to avoid them.
Right. But again, follow up, and because I am also one of those, right? How long do you wait it out? Like, what's your
See,
thing?
for us, in terms of at the stock level, right, we get numbers every quarter. We get balance sheets every 6 months, right? So it, again, for us, a lot of information flow. So one is how the company is reporting, what the management is talking about. 2 is what are the peers talking. And if you think, no, Rohit, you have gone wrong by owning it or gone wrong by not owning it. Let's have a relook at it.
Fair.
That's what I would say.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Rohit.
Thank
It's
you
been
for having me here.
Great, Kalpin. So I just spoke to Anil and Rohit, and it was really insightful conversation. So thanks for introducing me. Coming back to, knowing more about you. Like, you have been in this industry for like more than 2 decades. If not for this industry, what else would you have been?
I like what I do, but there are times some dream memories, sometimes the flashes that I get, which makes me think that maybe that also would have attracted me working in a library or a bookshop or a tea cafe selling books and tea together. It's a theoretical dream, but I'm very excited about this. Hence, I have not got the time, neither have the inclination to think of anything alternative.
Yeah. And, I've always been curious. You know the markets and in and out and reading every day. Do your friends and family also ask you for stock tips? And then how do you answer them?
Well, that is very obvious. See, they ask for stock tips when markets are rising. They don't when markets don't rise. I remember 2006-07 mein mujhe, a lot of people used to say, if you buy these 3 stocks, you live in Borivali, तुम्हारी destiny change हो जाएगी, you will move to Churchgate very fast. And I actually bought some of them. Thankfully, I didn't buy too many of them. And eventually they all cracked. They were bad businesses, bad promoters, bad governance. They would have fallen 98% or something like that. वो भी paper value है उसकी. So I'll tell you, there are people who ask for tips. So I say DSP XYZ fund में SIP कर लो. या ये मेरा portfolio है. Don't ask me for tips. Ask me where am I investing. You started great thing that आपका पहला सवाल था, show me your portfolio. Don't give me your view. So I do that, but it doesn't appeal. But if I say that, I'll give you some 10 good stocks. Coforge ले लो, फिर HDFC Bank ले लो, NTPC ले लो, Coal India ले लो, Bajaj Finance ले लो, Cholamandalam Finance ले लो, and IPCA and Alchem, and then Mathasan Sumi and this. People will write down, अच्छा ये stock है. Now all these 20 stocks are nothing but my top 20 stocks in the fund. So inefficiently लोगों को अच्छा लगता है direct stock खरीद के trade करके, there is that feeling of ownership ये मेरा portfolio है. But actually a better vehicle is to just be in a fund which is owning the same 20 stocks.
Right.
So imagine our value fund or multi-asset, which also has global investing. It has companies like TSMC, giant companies. Today it has Tencent and Alibaba. It has Microsoft. It has Berkshire Hathaway. Apart from the HDFC banks and the Kotak banks and the ICICI banks. So in one single fund, where do you get this advantage. So I think people need to just recognize we have to enhance our effectiveness of this communication and help investors.
Perfect. I think that's the right note to end. Just last question. I often ask, what's like your one advice? So what's like one big mistake that you see investors doing and then you would ask them to not do?
Don't throw out Dhoni or Rohit Sharma or Virat Kohli when their few matches scores are bad. Don't get overexcited when few matches they'll score centuries. In our industry, don't chase past returns and invest at least for a decade. In the formula of wealth creation, amount equal to principal 1 plus return raised to the power of T. Time has exponentiality to it. तो पैसा टाइम से बनता है. R भी important है, no doubt. R negative होगा तो all bets are off. R बहुत कम होगा तो again all bets are off. But even if that R is 12%, but if you compound over 20 years, it creates huge value.
Yeah.
Now, that is a very important lesson for people to learn that what is the best investment? So many times, let's say in this room, everyone asks me, what is your best fund to invest in? My answer could be different for each of you. Best investment or the best fund of DSP for you is the one in which you stay invested for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And it could be different for you, different for him, different for her, all of you differently. So time is a very important variable.
Perfect. I think the right note to end this conversation. Thank you so much, Kalpin, again for taking out the time. Also, your team for sort of organizing this, and Anil and Rohit. I had so much learnings today.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks for covering us, featuring us, allowing us to talk to your younger investors. And we hope that all of you who are listening to this conversation really fulfill your dreams and journey and create a better financial future.
you. Thanks.
Thank you.